Welcome back to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today and we have another amazing show lined up for y'all. We have a special guest in studio in San Antonio, Texas. So I want to say thank you to Pam Dwyer taking her time driving through the San Antonio traffic to get to this studio. I know that is something you got to have some patience for. So once again, we are here today, and she is someone that you need to know. She's not just a transformational speaker. She is a best-selling author, and we have presence in the studio. We're going to be talking about her book today and other amazing things that she has on her task. But we're going to just understand, first and foremost, when we have people on like Pam, this is going to be something that you're not just going to want to share with your friends and family, but you want to have it in your own pocket. You want to like bookmark this YouTube video or save this podcast episode because you're going to want to listen to this again as a masterclass. So first and foremost, Pam, I want to say to you, thank you for taking time talking to us today. You have an amazing story about trauma and chronic illness and being an entrepreneur. So first and foremost, thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Shemaiah. Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here. Really happy to be here to share.
I appreciate you being on. So let's talk a little bit before we get inside your projects and your books, a little bit about your own personal message. Okay. When you think about what some of the things, challenges you had to go through in life, what are some of the stories that you can share our audience right now that can kind of give us a better idea what you had to go through in your life?
Well, thank you for that, because I think a lot of times storytellers start in the middle or at the end, and it's like, what's happening right now? So I am going to go back to my childhood, and that was a very traumatic experience. My parents divorced, and there was a lot of physical abuse, a lot of mental abuse, neglect, and just abandonment. A lot of issues happening there that cause a lot of trouble as an adult mentally. And so I learned, though, to really quick to use that pain for fuel, for purpose. And how I learned it, I always love to tell this. Can I just tell this brief little story? Because it really drives home what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I was probably 12 years old, and we lived way out in the country in this dilapidated trailer. And my mom would go away for 3 to 4 weeks sometimes. And during the summer, it was a problem because we'd run out of food. And so as a kid, as a 12-year-old, you have to be creative in how you find things to eat. And there was this convenience store about 2 miles down the road. So my older sister and I would walk to the store, and she would get the hot dog weenies put under her shirt, and I would get the hot dog buns and put under my shirt, and we'd just casually walk out. Well, we were getting pretty cocky because we were doing it every week and nobody was catching us. But the name of the store was Mac's Superstop. And Mac, one day, we were walking out, and he said, "Hey, you two, stop right there." And we froze. We thought, oh no, we're going to jail. But we turn around, and Mac is holding a bottle of mustard. And he says, "You girls have been taking my hot dogs for weeks. Don't you want some mustard with those hot dogs?" And we were in disbelief. And he hands me the mustard, and he looks me right in the eye, and he says, "Don't steal from me anymore. Because if you need food, all you got to do is ask, sweetheart." And so we left with a bag this time with our food and our mustard. And the strangest thing, I didn't know what that was, Shemaiah. I didn't recognize it. I didn't know kindness. I had never experienced it, so I couldn't name it. I'm like, what just happened here? All I knew is how it made me feel. It made me feel seen. It made me feel like I mattered and like I was actually worthy. So all I knew is I wanted to be like Mac. 5 seconds it took him to impact my life to this day. To this day, I want to be like Mac. So, I do preach a lot about kindness and how it's a superpower, because to give it is one thing, or to receive it is one thing, but to give it is empowering. It's like a superpower.
When you understand that those times, I like to say that difficult times, they make us or they break us. Obviously, you were able to not just recover, but to really put yourself in positions to succeed. And going back to earlier, I said intro, being a best-selling author, you also are the mind behind the plus one theory and delay the binge. So you understand how to take pain points and turn into something that's not just special, but something that you actually can track. And how were you able to push yourself through those challenges and make yourself available for success? Because life is not about how many times you lose; it's about how many times you get back up again and apply yourself.
Right. Thank you for that question. That's excellent because it's an opportunity for me to let you know that we're never too young to learn these valuable lessons. And I learned the plus one theory just so that people know it's doing your best plus one more, right? No mediocrity. And how I discovered the plus one theory is when I was in eighth grade and in gym class, they would always say, girls, we're going to do the time mile. And I hated it because I was malnourished, I was beaten, I was weak, I wasn't strong. And so to run 4 laps around the track was torture. And their rule was if you stop, you start over.
Hmm.
And I'll explain later why that really drove home the message. But I hated it. So this time I thought, I'm just going to do a slow trot. And so I was able to get through the first lap. But by then my lungs were burning and my legs were burning. And I thought, there's no way I can make it 4 times around this lap, this track. And all of a sudden, I started thinking about the unfairness of my situation. While the girls over there have a mom and a dad with plenty of food and a clean home, and just down the road, I had my situation: filth, no adults that cared, beaten just for breathing wrong. And so I got angry. I never was angry before, but trying to run a slow trot, and I started crying, and I got more and more angry the more I thought about it. And before I realized it, I was on the third lap, and I was on a full-on sprint, just screaming and crying. And then I finished that fourth lap in no time and fell to the ground. And I thought, what was that? Where did that come from?
Hmm.
Where did that enter, that fuel? I found it. And so I tapped into a resource that I started using all the time in my situation, and it pulled me through. So I decided to name it, and I called it the plus one. So every time I thought I couldn't do something or endure anything any longer, I just said, I need the plus one. And so I ended up raising both my kids, drilling that into their heads. And they're the most amazing adults. And I contribute that to the plus one theory.
That's an excellent theory. And obviously, just like anyone else watching this show or listening, I'm going to take it and apply it to my own life because that's a great way to be accountable to your goals and to your dreams. Because anybody out there who thinks that, I mean, I'm sure most people don't, but some people kind of do. They think we just see all these celebrities and successful brands or successful people, book authors, or what have you. And for the most part, someone just hand them all that great goodness and they just had to show up and enjoy it. No, you don't see the blood, sweat, and tears. You don't see the lonely seasons. I just had the honor talking to a special guest before you came to the studio. She was had a big, heavy part of a multi-billion-dollar brand, and it's like I keep seeing these same patterns. People who are successful, they have losing seasons, but it's what you do in the time where you have the opportunity to make that choice, that decision. Am I going to say woe is me and play the violin and say no one cares, everyone hates me or whatever the sad cloud that you have for that day? Or do you dig in? Y'all can go to our website and check out the interview I'm talking about. It's dropping in the same time of today's interviews. I have a whole series of interviews right before the holidays, so y'all have a treat. But my point is to land the plane is that just like your story, just like her story, there were a lot of losing seasons, but a decision had to be made. Am I going to quit or am I going to find that plus one?
Yes.
I had to take that from you.
I love the plus one so much. And as I was explaining earlier, before we started recording, I have joined forces with a media agency. I'm excited about that. But they didn't like the name, The Plus One Theory, because that was my next book that I'm publishing in 2026. They're like, people don't really know what that means. You have to explain it first. And so they said, tell us about it. Tell us what you do with it now. And I explained that 6 years ago, I had bariatric surgery, and it was a huge transition in my life. It was very difficult because I was over 300 pounds, broken, my mindset was not where it needed to be. So I made the decision to have a tool, to help me lose the weight. And what people don't tell you, because there's tons of tools to lose the weight. We have the GLP-1s, we have bariatric surgery, on and on and on. But people think the tool is going to resolve their issues. And it's not. It is the mindset. There's something wrong, something broken, right, that is causing you to have a bad relationship with food or work, over-pleasing, overworking, all the things. And so they're like, so how do you fix that, Pam? And I said, well, what I've learned is I take a pause, a purposeful pause. Mine is 30 seconds. Everyone's different. But if I'm about to eat the chocolate cake, for instance, my problem was food. My relationship with food was not healthy. And so I would say, I'm going to pause for a moment, and then I'm going to tell myself, I can't have this cake right now by taking control. But tomorrow, if I still want it, I can have it. And for some reason, mentally, that allowed me to delay the binge. And so that is where my next book is actually going to be called Delay the Binge. And we've developed an amazing program that's helping a lot of people. And it's called Delay the Binge.
Well, we're going to have you back on for that one because that sounds like another set of additional masterclass. So once again, listen, I Am Refocused Radio, watching us online, talking to our guest today, Pam Dwyer. When you understand that, man, I got to let you talk and brag about the gift you gave me. This book is available for people to get on Amazon. You gave me an exclusive journal that was kind of from your camp. So I appreciate that exclusive gift. That means so much to me. But I want people to understand that your book, people can get this. I'm holding it up right now on Amazon real quick before we run out of time. Give us some behind the scene details on the process of making this book.
Okay, I can give you some secret stuff, secret sauce. And growing up like I did, it's taken like 8 years of some intense therapy. All right. And every therapist I ever had would tell me, Pam, between sessions, you need to journal your feelings so that we can discuss it at the next appointment. And so I noticed every time I'd bring my journal, they're like, we can't wait to read your journal, Pam. It makes us cry. It makes us laugh. You write so well. You need to write a book about your life to help other people. And that's when the seed was planted. I am a web designer by trade. And so I never thought about being a writer. So it took me 10 years, Shemaya, to be brave enough to pop that book out there. But what I did is I used my journal notes. So every few chapters are my raw journal notes showing the brokenness, and the chapters after that support it and show what caused it. But you can see as you go along in the book where I'm healing and where I'm becoming smarter about using all that's happened to me for fuel. Struggles become stepping stones. And I do end up doing a lot of good things with my life. And so I wasn't expecting the response. When I published it, number one, this is a second edition. I thought I could throw that sucker out there without an editor. You can't do that. You have to have it professionally edited. And I hired a publisher. And that's when it became a bestseller, because the story made more sense to a lot of people. So the money's worth hiring an editor to anyone wanting to write a book. But we put that out there, and I thought I was one of few that grew up like that. But so many people reached out to me saying, oh my gosh, Pam, I grew up very similar, And it's so nice and encouraging and inspiring to see how your story ended up being. It gives me hope. And so I am one of many people have grown up with lots of trauma, drama, and things that they still carry to this day. And it's wreaking havoc in their lives. And sometimes people don't even realize that. You've got to name it. You've got to be curious and find out why you keep doing this unhealthy thing over and over and over. You say, tomorrow, I'm not going to do this. But you do. We keep doing it. We know we should exercise. We know we need to move our bodies, but we don't. We have an excuse. And it's because, we listen to the lower brain chatter, I call it. So anyone that doesn't know this, the lower brain is like the caveman, right? It's fight or flight.
Yeah.
It's gonna tell you whatever it needs to give you a temporary relief. If you're stressed, if you're angry, whatever you're feeling, it's like, hey man, you need to go and have that second glass of wine because, man, you need some relief. But what people don't realize is the frontal cortex of our brains, I'll call it the CEO, is the smarty pants. And it will tell you, that when you drink too much wine or eat too much sugar, what it does to you for days after. And this doesn't serve you. So how do we tap into that frontal cortex and block out the lower brain chatter? We do it with the pause. I mean, there's a lot going on in the brain, old unhealthy patterns that we need to name, be curious, name, find, and then we have to create a new pattern. And you do that with the pause.
Once again, listen, I Refocused Radio watching us online. We got about 2 minutes left, so I want to make sure I give Pam the floor on this question, but I think it make everything full circle. You've built a strong digital community of women navigating shame, burnout, and emotional eating. When you think about the mindset and practice of that plus one method, for those who are listening and watching, what will you say to them, especially during the holidays? For some, it can be a hard time and it can be depressing. What will be your words of encouragement for those who are heading to the holidays who may be going through some dark times?
Okay, remember family issues are from way back, right? And maybe you've buried those feelings deep down, those hurt feelings or whatever it is you're feeling or trying to ignore. You're trying to numb it out with whatever unhealthy binge you can find. And just remember, you're not broken, and it doesn't require willpower to resist the urge. What it requires is for you to realize you're human and that you have addressed these feelings by, first of all, figuring out what it is. What is your pain? And you can't do that unless you pause long enough, unless you're journaling. I'm a big advocate for journaling. Journal your feelings. There's so much more, but we have so little time. But I just would say, give yourself some grace. Allow yourself to be human this holiday season, and just lean into what you're feeling and take a breath. And don't beat yourself up about it. If you're angry, you can be angry, but there's a healthy way to deal with it. And we've got to figure that out. The community that we have on Delay the Binge is amazing because we shouldn't go through this alone. You need other people that are going through the same thing to be with you, to hold your hand, to say, girl, I got you. This is all right. Because it took you years to be where you're at now. It's going to take a long time for you to undo it, to create new patterns. And just so you know, if you ever go to counseling, they cannot make your issues go away. They can only give you coping skills. And so Delay the Binge sharpens that. We figure out what coping skills allows you to be the best you can be on your way to figuring out who you really are, because you should always be, becoming the best you can be.
And with that said, If you're ready to break the cycle and you want to work with Pam, before we officially sign off, what's the best way that our audience can keep in touch with you and they are interested in learning about more of your resources?
If you want to see all of my work, you can go to pamdwyerspeaker.com and you have choices. But if you're interested in Delay the Binge, we have yet to launch the program. So if you go to delaythebinge.com, you can sign up on my wait list because we're shooting for January. And I would love for the community to be as big as possible. We need lots of people to join the community and just be part of the support.
Well, like always, I want to say to you, Pam, thank you for your time.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Shemaya, for the time.